Welcome to my YouTube channel, Mark at A Matter of Truth. All of my Bible teaching songs are based upon my sound biblical Bible studies on my website at thechurchofthefirstborn.net.
Welcome to this explainer. Today we're doing a bit of textual detective work to unpack a highly specific, definitely non-mainstream theological interpretation of Colossians 1:18. It's known as the Biblical Unitarian view. We're going to map out the precise arguments this source uses to build a really fascinating alternative framework, one that literally takes a verse usually associated with the universe's physical creation and turns it into a blueprint for a cosmic war. Whether you're a veteran of theological debates or just kind of fascinated by how one single passage can be so radically reinterpreted, we're going to look closely at how the author dissects this ancient text. And just to be clear up front, we're not taking sides here. We're strictly looking at the evidence the source presents to build its case. Let's get right into it. Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We'll be looking at 1. The mystery of Colossians 1:18. 2. Challenging Trinitarian tradition. 3. The missing word, things. 4. The firstborn from the dead. 5. Defining the new creation. And finally, 6. The ultimate cosmic purpose. All right, part 1. The mystery of Colossians 1:18. So our source kicks things off with the anchor text that creates all this mystery in the first place. Listen closely to the standard King James Version of Colossians 1:18. And he is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he might have the preeminence. Now, for a lot of you, this is a super familiar verse, but the author asks us to hit pause and really focus on 3 highly specific phrases here: head of the body, the beginning, and firstborn from the dead. Why do these matter so much? Well, because according to the source, reading these exact words with a completely fresh perspective triggers a massive interrogation of everything we think we know about the timeline of the universe. It basically turns these phrases into flashpoints for a huge debate. According to the author, digging into this text sparks a rapid-fire series of probing questions, starting with a big one. Did the Son of God actually pre-exist in eternity past? Does this verse really teach a pre-human existence before the virgin birth? Or have readers just been inadvertently projecting an outside, much later tradition right onto the text? The source invites us to treat this like a giant thought experiment. And that thought experiment leads to an even more provocative question about the timeline of Jesus' origin. If he's called the beginning, does that imply he had a distinct moment of creation? Was he, born in eternity past, or did he become the firstborn at a very specific point in time? The distinction here is absolutely massive when you consider how it frames the entire biblical narrative. Finally, the text challenges us to ask what specific beginning this verse is actually referring to. Are we talking about the beginning of the physical universe, the galaxies, the earth, everything we can touch and see? Or is it the beginning of something entirely different? Keep this question in the back of your mind, because how the source answers it literally changes the entire meaning of the passage and sets up a wild, grand conclusion. Okay, part 2. Challenging the Trinitarian tradition. To answer those questions, we really have to look at the lens through which this verse is traditionally read. The source brilliantly juxtaposes the core conflict right here. On one side, you've got the mainstream Trinitarian tradition, which the author argues views Jesus as the eternal creator who fashioned the entire physical universe in eternity past. On the flip side is the source's biblical Unitarian view. In this perspective, Jesus is not the creator of the physical universe, but rather a human son created by God for a very specific role, to be the head of the church. Now, for those of you who follow theological history, you know this isn't just some argument over semantics. The author is suggesting a total paradigm shift that reshapes the entire timeline of divine authority. If you assume Jesus created the literal universe, the source argues Colossians 1:18 just doesn't fit the rest of the text logically.
Moving on to part 3, the missing word, things.
So, to resolve this huge conflict between the two traditions, the author argues we need to zoom all the way in on a single, allegedly missing word in the English translation, the word things. Just think about that for a second. When we read all things, our modern minds immediately jump to everything: the planets, the stars, the trees, the whole physical universe itself. But here's the kicker. The source claims that this word is actually an insertion by translators, an addition that entirely alters the context from what the original author actually intended. The source provides a literal translation to make this point crystal clear. In the King James Version, the phrase all things strongly implies physical dominion over the universe, but according to the author's literal Greek translation, the text reads, that may be coming in all he before most being. Notice what's totally absent. The word things is simply not in the Greek text at all. The author argues that without the word things acting as an object, the verse is no longer talking about the physical creation of the universe. It just strips away all that cosmological weight we usually give it. Which brings us to part 4, the firstborn from the dead. If he isn't the creator of the physical cosmos, what exactly is he the firstborn of? Well, with the physical universe totally removed from the equation, the text posits a new meaning for the phrase firstborn from the dead. The author defines this as Jesus being begotten from the dead, specifically to be the head of the outcalled. In this literal translation, the church is the body of the outcalled ones. Therefore, Jesus being the firstborn means he was the very first to be called out by God from the dead to walk in righteousness. He isn't the origin of the cosmos, he's the origin point, like the prototype of a brand new spiritual body of believers.
Part 5. Defining the new creation.
This redefinition naturally leads the author to completely reframe what the word creation even means in this biblical context. To back this up, the text links Colossians to another famous verse, Revelation 3:14, where Jesus is called the beginning of the creation of God. The author poses a really sharp logical question here. If Jesus existed in eternity past before the universe was even made, who exactly was he being a faithful and true witness to? Instead, the source argues this verse perfectly aligns with Colossians, but only once you realize that the creation being discussed absolutely isn't the heavens and the earth. The author logically maps this out for us in 3 precise chronological steps. Step 1, Jesus is resurrected, making him the absolute firstborn out of the dead. Step 2, by being resurrected in righteousness, he becomes the very first of God's new creatures. Notice the emphasis there, he is the beginning of an explicitly new creation, not the old physical one from Genesis. And step 3, because he's the first of these new creatures, he rightfully takes his place as the head of this newly outcalled body, the church. It's a completely internal, spiritually focused timeline that totally resets the clock on what creation means for this specific group.
And finally, part 6, the ultimate cosmic purpose. But according to the source, all of this raises a massive why. Why did Yahweh create these new creatures in this new outcalled body in the first place? Well, here is where the source pulls all the threads together into a stunning narrative. The source concludes that Yahweh created the human son, Jesus, for a highly specific tactical purpose. Jesus was made to become a Lord, a King, and a God, explicitly under the authority of the Father. He was given dominion over the works of Yahweh's hands for one ultimate goal, to judge Satan and the fallen angels. According to this biblical Unitarian view, this entire new creation, the outcalled body and its firstborn head, was enacted to still God's cosmic enemies and finally end a literal war in heaven. This completely shifts the reading of the text. It's no longer just a simple story of physical creation and human salvation. The author argues it's actually documenting a tactical military maneuver by Yahweh to establish cosmic jurisdiction and execute judgment against fallen angels. It's wild to think about. By examining the absence of the word things in the original Greek, this author reconstructs a narrative that shifts Jesus from the eternal architect of the physical universe to a human son resurrected to lead a new spiritual creation in a literal cosmic war against fallen angels. Does the traditional translation of a single word obscure a literal cosmic war hidden right there in the text? It's a fascinating reminder of how a single word in translation can entirely rewrite the cosmos as we think we know it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning what you read.
Please read the in-depth Bible studies on my websites at AMatterOfTruth and thechurchofthefirstborn.net. And if you like this Bible teaching song video, please share the link with others. Thanks for watching, and may God bless you richly for sharing the true gospel. Brother Mark.